Hi, my name is Shin Lee, and welcome to the world of Botticelli. His name is actually pronounced,
Sandro Botticelli.
but I can't actually do that, so I'm just going to proceed by using the Americanized Botticelli, which actually means small wine cask. So Botticelli, his original name being Alessandro di Mariano Filippi, was born around 1445 and died 1510. Nobody actually knows when he was born for sure. As a kid, he was extremely smart, he was also very hyperactive, and he got bored very easily in school. But because he was so talented, he was actually withdrawn from school to be an apprentice, where he trained under quite a few people, from goldsmiths to painters. He was in an independent workshop by 1470. So the boy in this picture is not Botticelli, it's actually one of his paintings, Portrait of a Young Man. I just thought it was appropriate for the early years portion. In Botticelli's later years, he became one of the most respected artists in Italy, and this is seen through some of his experiences. So for most of his life, he painted secular paintings for the Medici family. In 1481, he was actually invited by the Pope to come to Rome, where he worked on a very important project, the walls of the Sistine Chapel. You can see in the painting Temptations of Christ. For a while, his career was going great and he was at his prime. He created the Birth of Venus, which most people agree is his most famous painting. But in the 1490s, a bunch of unsettling events occurred that definitely changed his paintings. For one, the Medici family had been exiled from Florence. In another, Italy had a bunch of plagues going on, along with invasions such as the French King Charles VIII's invasion in 1494. Botticelli was definitely affected, and his paintings ended up with a lot darker of a tone. They weren't as sophisticated, they were very unrefined, and they had a much deeper moral and religious undertones. They were not as appreciated as the works of people like Michelangelo. Botticelli's ending is pretty tragic. He never married, he fell into depression, not because he didn't marry. Um, he was always conflicted and anxious, and he ended up very poor. In fact, most people forgot about him until the 1800s. But he definitely had a lot of contributions in his lifetime. So, for one, the decoration of the walls of the Sistine Chapel. He wasn't alone though, he had about 6 other painters called to room with him, but he was definitely a major contributor. And this was before Michelangelo's decoration of the ceilings. So, his best work is definitely Birth of Venus, but there's a few others I'll get into later. His paintings for the Medici family and his contribution in reviving Neoplatonism. Those are all definitely some of his major contributions. So here are some of his works. These two are definitely his most famous, Birth of Venus and Primavera. They are very secular paintings, which I'll get into later, and they were in his mid-career. So here's Mars and Venus, which definitely shows human sensuality, and Allegory of Fortitude, which is literally the personification of strength, which some may see as a tribute to the rise of individualism during the Renaissance. So here's where we see that shift I was talking about, from secularism to deep religious focus, the mystical nativity and the calumny of Apelles. The calumny of Apelles actually represents the dark side of the individual, the vices calumny, malice, envy, and fraud. And once again, here we see deep religious concentration by Botticelli in Holy Trinity. As you can see, it's very crude. The lines, the colors are very harsh in comparison to some of the more secular, happy paintings that we've seen before. So, how did Botticelli's paintings connect to the themes of the Renaissance? Well, first off, through the revival of Neoplatonism, his paintings also show a lot of human value, sensuality, strength, individualism. His secular paintings were actually quite a breakthrough. Botticelli was one of the first Western artists to paint non-religious paintings. He also went through a religious crisis, which was very common during the Renaissance period. Much of his paintings after 1490s are very deep in religion and moral values. And that's about it. Thank you for listening and watching to my presentation on
Sandro Botticelli.